People will slowly be getting on. We're at 41 right now.
Oh, no pressure.
Hello, everyone. We'll get started in just a second. Okay, just wanted to welcome everyone to our webinar today. Today we have Heather Dyer with Dyer Appliance Academy, and Rob is going to teach us about Samsung and LG and some tricks of the trade. So Heather, do you want to take it away? Heather, you're muted. Rob, you want to take over for?
Yeah, I will. Looks like she's muted here. I'll just introduce myself. My name is Rob Jones. I've been in the industry going on 27 years now, from both being a technician when I first started, management, owning my own company. Now I'm currently a technical training manager for Samsung USA, based out of the Dallas Training Center. And I also help Heather at the Dyer Academy with some seal system training. So that's my background and what will be where I get most of my knowledge. Like I say, I know we have a vast experience probably on this webinar today, from management, owners, to students just starting in our industry. Again, my experience, I love this industry. It's something that it's a passion for me, both in being a technician back in the day in management, and now having getting a lot of satisfaction training our technicians, especially with the experiences I've been able to get. We're going to cover quite a few topics today, depending on how far we get. But we've got quite a few things from both the management perspective that I have, as well as new guys coming into our industry, things for you guys to look out for, tips and tricks of the trade that you maybe get a leg up and don't have to learn the hard way like we did when I started back in the early 90s. As I said, I am currently a Samsung technical training manager at the Dallas location. And one of the things I know that was listed on our agenda today was talking about the Samsung bulletin regarding the ice makers in the French door refrigerators, the direct cool ice maker. There has been an out of warranty service bulletin that covers both no ice, a frozen ice room, and an ice bucket stuck with frost. So there are a couple things I want to touch on there. One of the things for this bulletin that you want to make sure, and one of the keys that we found for success is completing all the steps in that service bulletin. With the kit for the service bulletin, it's going to come with quite a few parts. In that kit, you want to make sure you go through and use and complete all the steps. And that's a big key that they've been finding with our engineers, that if you don't complete all these steps in the repair, you're destined for a return visit within 4 to 6 months. It will act up again. You definitely want to adhere to all the steps as they're written in that service guide that's supplied for the specific models that is present. You definitely want to contact your parts vendors. Make sure you're getting the exact service bulletin for the specific model you're dealing with. These service kits come with an ice maker, the Y-clip kit, an auger drain repair, the main PCB, and zip ties and associated stuff to complete that repair. One of the things we've also seen in causing damage is you never want to force or pull out that ice bucket. You definitely want to use a steamer to unthaw everything. You can do damage there. One of the other caveats that our engineers have found is you want to inspect all areas for air leaks in our ice room, including the ice bucket gasket, the ice root flap, the ice room cavity, making sure there are no leaks there. So those are some of the more things you want to look at as you're going in. And again, I want to reiterate, there are 15 steps in this repair bulletin. You're going to get to the end, think you're done. And if you don't complete all these steps, you're going to see a return trip within 4 to 6 months. We've had great success with this service bulletin, and this service bulletin does cover prior to the 2019 models. So with that, as you get to the end of that test, you definitely want to finish up, and you'll have these in the instructions that come with this service bulletin with the kit. You're going to want to run a test cycle, and a lot of guys start this test cycle and they're going to just move away. This test cycle takes a full 6 minutes to complete. So you want to make sure that you get that covered and make sure everything's done. You also want to run a self-diagnostics at the end to make sure there are no other fault codes. So those are 2 big keys that we want to let you know as you go through these. We have seen right at 100% success rate if you follow all the steps in this guide. I would suggest for the ASCs out there for Samsung, you will be able to get the information for the service guide, part numbers, and associated information. And one of the main keys with that is definitely getting the right kit for the model number. So you may want to check with your parts vendors and Samsung information there to get that completed. Again, if completed correctly and all the steps are followed beginning to end, you're going to see right at 100% success rate with this ice maker revision that they put together. Other than that, I don't know, Heather, if your mic's on, if you had any questions there. All right, guess not. Looks like we can't hear Heather still. No, we can't hear you, Heather. So with that, one of the things I'll go into
Rob?
now. Yes.
Sorry, I can read a couple of the questions real quick.
Sure.
It says, are Samsung warranty techs able to get those ice maker kits?
Yes, it is an out of warranty repair now because these kits are prior to the warranty now. This was as of early, I believe, 2019. But if they have any information, regarding that, we can get a question to Samsung leadership, and I can follow up with Heather and get that information to her. But yes, these kits go back to an out of warranty period.
Okay, and do you know the bulletin number?
I don't right now. I don't have that with me in front of me, but it would be something, especially if they're an ASC, they should have it. Non-Samsung repair companies, they may have to contact parts vendors to get that. It might be something they can get through that avenue.
Perfect. Okay, one more. How do you get these if you don't work directly for Samsung?
As far as get the kits,
The bulletins.
the bulletins, I'll have to check with Samsung leadership on that and get back to you. I can get that information to Heather so she could get that forwarded to her. Not sure how it is released to non-Samsung ASCs, but it is something that I can check with leadership and see if I can get that information to Heather and follow up.
Okay, I'll ask any more as they come in if you want to continue.
Yeah. Okay. So one of the other things I always like to talk, especially with beginning technicians and things as well, is always follow through with everything you're doing. There are no shortcuts in our trade. One of the things that I see a lot of times or get questions in dealing with technicians is, hey, how do I do this? How can I quickly handle this? My response to that is always, I can tell you, we can train you on that, but you've got to learn these issues. There are no shortcuts. Do your research. This is a trade that is very profitable for everyone. So if you put the time in to becoming an educated servicer, we're not just repair guys, as we've seen, we're technicians. So it's something that as that you're going to portray that to the customer. So one of the things I always suggest to everyone, there are no shortcuts. So do your homework. If you need training, reach out to vendors. A lot of our vendors do offer training programs, especially if you're a non-warranty provider. It may come a little later than a warranty provider, but that's something I always recommend to new technicians coming into the field. And it's a always learning experience. I've been in this industry 27 years, like I said. I learn things every day. I've always been a sponge when it comes to absorbing information. And I feel that if you operate in that fashion and know you don't know everything and follow the data and follow the information you're given and absorb it, it's going to help you on a day-to-day basis. A lot of times in the past, attending the conventions that are put on from various vendors, various organizations, I always tell people it's always well worth the money to attend, especially as a servicer. I may go through classes through those servicing conventions. I may sit around for a day or two. Okay, I know this, I know that, but there's going to be that one key moment that someone's going to say something, and I've been struggling with something, whether it be, a repair that I'm doing the hard way and I don't know I'm doing it that way. So one of the keys there is absorb that knowledge, always be learning, attending, as much as you can to grasp any little thing. And you may think, hey, I've been through this before. This training's not gonna assist me. I'll just skip this one. But you never know when there's going to be that one little nugget that is going to save you hours. Years ago, I was, had a dishwasher issue I was working on, 15, 20 years ago. And lo and behold, I go to a training session put on by one of our vendors, and they were speaking to, that certain problem I was having. And, it was a quick 10-minute thing. All I had to do is do this, and it saved me hours. So always keep in mind that you want to be learning. So one of the other things we have on our list to kind of go over today is at the convention back in January, we covered a topic regarding LG compressors. And I'm going to try to share this presentation real quick here that I did. Bear with me 1 second here. I don't know. Can you see that there, Sarah? Okay.
You have to click share your screen.
Oh, okay, not a problem. That's what it was. I knew. Give me 2 seconds. I'll get that done. Apologies. There we go. And 1 second, I'll get that up. You can all see a kaleidoscope there. There we go. That better, Sarah? Sorry about that. I knew there was always one caveat here. What LG was discussing back then was an LG linear compressor and the new update they had. So one of the things they did with this is having the issue they were having with that LG compressors when they first put these out. A lot of these compressors were designed to run on R600 back in the day. And so they were using these compressors and their valves were failing. The plastic valves, the 134A was a little more caustic on the valves. So it was causing a valve failure. So LG did come back out with a universal compressor kit for this repair. So again, that guys may want to take a picture of the screen. So those who deal with in or out of warranty for the LG compressor, that's the part number for this universal compressor kit. For that, you do definitely want to check the model number and verify it is the correct part. Sometimes they do require a board replacement as well if it can't be programmed. And again, like I say, don't just order the compressor. You're not necessarily ready to install that yet. There is a universal compressor jig. You have to reprogram the control board with this compressor. With that needing to be reprogrammed, as you can see, there's that part number for the LG compressor jig. I'll leave that up there for a few seconds in case anybody needs a screenshot of it. Again, that is going to be needed to reprogram the board to run this new compressor. And as you can see on the screen, kind of a quick update. I know it's a little blurry, but they basically, the instructions that come with this new compressor will explain how to reprogram that board with this jig. That jig is required to reprogram the board. And as you can see, this is their service bulletin for that and how to reprogram it. It does come with the instructions in the kit from what I've been told. And as you can see there, as we progress through, this service bulletin will, per model and compressor, will tell you the exact settings and what you need to do with the programming device. So if reprogramming is not completed before you install the compressor or you don't program it correctly, the compressor will not run. It will show after you're done as a dead compressor. So this is something that they're having issues with. If you just go ahead and install, don't pay attention, and don't do it correctly, you will have a dead compressor. It will not start.
Rob, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay, great. Restarted. Is this reusable? The jig reusable?
Yes, it is reusable. As long as it is hooked up, I believe with the instructions, it says to hook it up without power applied initially. So if you don't have that, or if you do apply it with power applied, I believe it will short out that jig and you have to buy it again.
Okay.
But yeah.
And are each jig specific to the model and PC for each refrigerator? And how do they
no, it's a universal jig.
Okay. How do they get the correct updates? Do you know?
As far as the update to that specific model, it comes in the instructions with the kit.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. I don't know if there are any questions there on that. I have some of the answers.
Yeah,
like I say, I'm not an LG rep. Of course, I don't know. I'm just going off what we found as far as the presentation we did at USA Convention back in January.
Okay.
One of the things, I'm not sure how many new technicians we have in the class, but I always like to do, I don't know if you can still see my screen, Heather, is that okay?
Looks great.
Okay. So as a technician, I'm always been called the tool junkie, or I always have the latest new gadget. But I think a lot of these gadgets, as some would say, yes, our tool bag gets quite hefty sometimes. We have to go to the truck to get these tools. But any tool that can save you half an hour, can save you time, not only will help you get completed calls, help you get more calls done in the day, but it's going to be more profitable for you as not only a technician, but as a service company. Depending on how the management runs at your specific company, sometimes tools are supplied by companies. Sometimes you're required to supply your own. So just depending on the situation, you may want to either inquire with your management, or if it's something where you're required to supply your own tools, might be little things that you want to invest in. So these are going to cover some of the special items I've had over the years adding to my toolkit. Some you may have, some you may not, some you may not have thought about. I always have a couple in the bag and or on the truck. Some of our tools are bigger that we don't want to have with us necessarily in the bag carrying everything in. So one of the little toolkits I found is we always struggle with trying to get that outer door boot seal attached, and there's a spring. You're trying to hold it with 2 knees and an arm. So Sensible Products put out this adjustable tension spring tool for applying the outer spring for the door boots on a front load washer. I found over the years, I'm in training now, which I really enjoy. And sharing these type of things, I always had one of these in my bag. Sometimes it worked great. Other times, it may have worked sufficient to get that outer spring on, but it expands the spring to allow you to easily put that on the outside spring. Of course, the LG has put out their door boot seal kits, which removes our inner door boot and seal spring. Makes it a little easier to get that off on the inside for their spring-driven clamps. Now, this one, a lot of people have never thought about. I've had hemostats in my bag. You can find them on Amazon. Generally, you can get, they come in a kit of 3 or 4 for generally $10. You can see the one on the screen is kind of curved. With a hemostat, if no one's ever used them, you're able to, as you can see, pinch. It looks like a pair of pliers, but those actually lock and hold things in place. So what I use these for, changing bake elements. If you're pulling them through the front, you want to clamp, and you can put this hemostat on. We've all had that wire that pops behind the oven when we're doing repairs, and now you've got to pull the oven out of the wall, or you've got to go find a way to snake back and retrieve that wire. As I pull out a bake element, I attach a hemostat. I carry a couple of them in my bag back in the day, and I would attach the hemostat to the wire before I disconnected it. So that way, if the wire did decide to even pop back, it's actually held in place by the hemostat. Again, most people want to say, hey, what do you have doctor's tools in your bag for? Sometimes they work for us just as well, if not better. But yeah, they're amazing tools. I generally, if I lose or break a pair, it's an immediate replacement back in my bag.
Hey, Rob, can you put the slide with the tension spring tool? Can you put up the slide with the... The tension spring.
Oh, that one? Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were talking about, there we go. Yeah, and that can be found at any of our local vendors, depending on where you're at. And from what I found in my experience, like I say, being in the industry for 27 years, even though I have a current position in training, I found that this was an amazing tool across various brands. And that part number is the Sensible Products part number for the toolkit. I don't know the exact price of what it is now, but if it saves you 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 30 minutes trying to get that spring tool in, you've just made the cost of the tool back. We good?
We're good. Yeah, we can move on.
Okay.
Definitely. Yeah.
All right. One of the really valuable tools I've found and I've had in my bag for probably 2 years prior to getting into training this last year and a half is an endoscope camera. A lot of you are looking at like, oh my, that must be pricey. Believe it or not, this camera, you can find them on Amazon for as cheap as $19, $29. You know, it's not too expensive. Most of them are Wi-Fi driven. So once you charge it up, this endoscopic camera will get into many small places. You can look down drains, see if something's still clogged. One thing that I always loved to use it for was safety. Do I want to pull this refrigerator out? Do I want to pull this washer out? You can snake this little camera down. It goes directly to your phone or tablet or laptop, whatever you have with you by Wi-Fi. And it shows a picture. It's got a light on it. So it lights up the area. And this endoscopic camera can get pretty much anywhere. It's at most the head of it, about a 1/4 inch wide round. So it is a tool that I've used on many front load washers without having to move the washer if they've kind of got a built-in cabinet. Dishwasher leaks, you know, you can even stick it, they're waterproof. You can stick them down a drain line if you can't get a drain line unclogged. And a lot of times with the larger refrigerators, I would actually snake it underneath the refrigerator. Most of these are 48 inches long. Some of them come up to a 12 foot long extension. So these things, prior to moving appliances, it's a good tool. So you're not replacing floors. So you're not causing damage to customers' property, which is one of the big things we want to as technicians and we want to as servicers, is we want to give that customer confidence that we are taking care of their property. They view and their stuff is valuable. You don't want to damage floors. So anything you can do to prevent moving or damaging anything. I used this camera a lot when I was running service to just make sure I was clear in moving things, and if I had leaks, I could find out where that leak was. It cut my diagnostic time down. Instead of pulling something out completely, I could get it to where I could use the camera and check for those leaks, and I could see immediately where it's coming from. They do come with a light on the end, so it's not something you're looking in the dark. So it's a very valuable tool, and some might say a modern tool we can use as technicians to make our job a lot easier. Again, another tool that I've found, and some may use different varieties. In training in the past, I've had guys, you know, use C-clamps with blocks, and I'm always looking at, that's a lot of stuff you got to carry just when you can go have a $15 pair of pinch-off pliers. So these are directly used, you know, when I would replace a drain pump back in the day when I was running service. I would just clamp that down on there. It's very easy to use and allow you to work in tight spaces. Most of our local parts vendors or your local parts vendors would carry this item. Usually behind the counter, they'll have it hanging up. A lot of guys don't know what it is, but if you do know now, or you can find them on Amazon, wherever you want to source it from. That's where you know, you can find it. Most, I would hope now, are using a handheld steamer to do repairs when we're dealing with across the variety of spectrum, dealing with defrosts on refrigerators, drains. One of the things a lot of guys don't realize is you can use them to actually get wrinkles out of door gaskets. What these do is you add water to it. It then creates with a heater inside, creates a high-powered steam that will allow it to, instead of damaging cavities, you can hold this directly on plastic. It will not melt. As far as, compared to using heat guns, which are very dangerous when we're dealing with plastic liners of refrigerators, causing anything and melting cavities. So this is a tool that I've had in my truck, and I've recommended for almost 15 years. I can't remember when I was using a heat gun last to defrost a refrigerator. It's very dangerous, especially with aluminum evaporators using a heat gun. So you definitely want to be using these handheld steamers instead of a heat gun. I would hope most already have this on their truck. So as far as that goes, that kind of covers our tools that I have in there. Do have one thing I want to share here. Let me see if I can pull this video up for you. Got to remember how to do it here. Is that on the screen, Heather?
Yes. Uh-huh.
Okay, I'm going to share it full screen. Make sure that goes here. All right, so one thing that I didn't have in the day, but now that I've been subjected to it, I guess you could say, or I've witnessed it in motion, is the air sled. You'll see a lot of these for the servicers. When you go to the conventions, the air sled will generally be there. The one we're showing here on the screen that was tested is actually their smaller model. It comes in a very compact bag. They do have larger models, but a lot of guys haven't seen this. If so, I'm going to go ahead and play this video that was recorded of the air sled in motion. So as you can see, it's just got two little pieces that slide underneath where you attach the hoses to the, I guess you could say, compressor or air generator. But as you can see here, with it engaged, we can move a appliance around with 2 fingers. It basically creates an airflow in there, sliding it back and forth, raising the unit off the floor. And we'll play that again so you can kind of get a good picture again. So what it does is create airflow into those receptacles underneath the appliance, and can move things around rather easily, preventing damage. That's one thing, being in the industry for as long as I have, that you want to prevent. You have many, let me turn that off there. You have many different things that you're going to run across as technicians. Being very careful with people's property is one. None of us want to damage anything. We want to take any precaution we can to prevent any damage. So those are some of the tools.
Hey, Rob. So one thing
Yep.
I would just like to mention is
Sure.
the Dyer Academy's past students and present students do receive a 15% off discount with AirSled. We'll be sharing a code with you shortly, or you can contact us for the code. But they've agreed to give us our students a 15% off discount, which really helps.
Yep, definitely. So I know we've been on here for a little bit. So some of the other things that I would suggest, and like I say, not knowing who all's on the call here, but hopefully some information that I can give you. If you're a new technician, never stop learning. It's something that if you find a way to attend classes, these conventions, in our industry, it's very valuable. Things change monthly, sometimes even faster than that. I would also suggest that I know a lot of guys aren't as familiar with multimeters and testing of multimeters, how to use them properly. That's imperative in our industry. So one other thing, skimping on a meter has always not been my practice. Back when I had my own service company, one of the things I always had my technicians make sure of is the meter was one of the if you're going to invest any money, make sure you have a decent meter. Meters are key for understanding what you're getting out of an appliance and testing, whether it be resistance, amperage, power, your sources. A good meter is definitely something you want to have in your bag. If not, I know you can find different various courses. Never stop learning how to use that meter. It's one of the things you definitely want to use. It's probably your best tool in your bag. Some people might think it's a drill driver so they can take things apart fast. You can get it apart as you can get it apart as fast as you want. But if you're going to be there for hours trying to figure out what's wrong with it because you don't know how to use a meter, that's big. You can use meters, and if you know what you're doing and when with that meter, you can cut your diagnostic time drastically. Getting that knowledge is definitely something that I would recommend.
Okay. Hey, Rob, here at
yeah.
the Dyer Academy, you've been an intricate part of our sealed system one-day class and our lockering class. Can you talk just a little bit about lockering and the benefit you see in lockering in the future?
Sure, definitely. One of the things, as Heather mentioned, we are dealing with is the facets of how seal system repairs are changing. Not only for the new systems coming out with R600, but with it being flammable, it's definitely something I've been recommending to anyone in the industry is to get away from using torches. I know we teach it for your seal system class, Heather, for the first day because it is the most common right now. If I had any suggestion that I'd give to any new technician coming to the class regarding seal system repair is if you're going to invest in the lockering technology. Lockering has a very high success rate if the joints are done properly. There is something you deal with there, the proper application of the solvent, proper application and pressure on the tool. What I've found in dealing with lockering is once you get the hang of it and you do some joints, take and do joints practice prior to using it in the seal system repairs, you're going to find it's a lot easier, a lot faster to use that technology. The failure rate on the lockering couplings itself when installed properly is less than 10%. So their success rate is very high. With the R600 that we're going to start doing as well for you, Heather. I believe that this is this month, I think. We're starting that. You're going to see the reason why. As most of you should know, R600 is flammable. So we don't want to be applying torches to a flammable refrigerant. So the technology behind lockering, I had the opportunity to go to the lockering facility earlier this year. And it's amazing what they're doing with this technology. And if applied properly, again, the failure rate of their connectors is, I think they were saying less than 5% was what Jeremy had told us with lockering themselves. Most of the time when they do get a failed joint or they get something sent back to them as a failed connector to inspect, it's most often a technician error, whether the wasn't enough solvent applied prior to the connector being installed, or if the connector was just installed improperly by applying too much torque or bending the tool when you're installing it. It does take some practice. It's something that when I do teach with the lockering equipment, it's something I definitely tell the technicians, if this is the way you're going to go, which is what I suggest, because that is where everything is moving in our industry. Being about the same cost as a set of torches, I would suggest our new people into our industry learn that technology and use that because that's going to be where it's at. I think they've had technicians even cut service time down on seal system repairs because they're not having to bring in as much equipment, because they're not having to prep the system to use a torch. Again, R600 is very flammable. So applying a torch, you run the risk of damage, not only to yourself, but to a customer's home. There's been quite a few reports of that happening. So definitely dealing with R600, you want to use the lock ring product. It's the only thing that you want to use on that. And going forward, your service time can actually be cut down on systems that are 134A. You're going to not require all the equipment to bring in. You just bring in the lock ring tool and your fittings and go to town. So.
Okay, I think some people were asking on the cost of our lock ring class. The cost of our class is $6.99, and our sealed system 1-day class is $4.99 right now. Those prices obviously can always change, but that's where we are right now. And it's limited seating. I think we have 5 in the sealed systems class max, and maybe 3 or 4 in the lock ring class. So it's a small class size. So, plenty of one-on-one attention there for all the students. Rob, here's a question. So because we have a lot of obviously newer technicians coming in from the academy. I know we probably have a lot of advanced technicians online, but let's say you come to a new appliance and some of these are more modern, some of them are older, a lot of them are more modern. How do you get in these appliances? Where do you start?
Okay, and I get that question a lot, both in what we're dealing with. So one of the things I've always tried to tell technicians when they're approaching something, maybe they're not familiar with the product. You get a ticket and you haven't seen it, or you've maybe seen it, but you're not haven't actually had hands on. Calm down, be patient, don't freak out. Keep your cool, look at the appliance. The good thing nowadays, unlike when I was coming and getting trained in the early 90s, is there's so much information that you can access. So when you approach that appliance, if you're not familiar with it, one of the things I always tell technicians is step back, take a deep breath. A lot of times I know the homeowner or the customer is going to be right there over your shoulder. Take a step back, and most of our product now is electronic driven with control boards, with touch panels. The one thing that you have in your bag that you can use is you've got to run these tests. You need to actually see what's actually happening. So as you're standing there, be eyeing how you're going to get this apart, or finding ways, your service manuals that are listed online. I would always suggest that just take a deep breath. I know a lot of times I've seen it in the industry from running service for close to 25 years prior to getting into the training side. You just got to keep your cool. If the customer then approaches you, hey, don't you know what you're doing here? You always have that caveat now of, no, I'm running the test. I got to get this into test mode. So it's going to take me a little bit of time. Give them expectations of what you're doing. And believe it or not, sometimes talking to them and telling them I have to go through these processes to get to before I start taking it apart. A lot of customers don't understand. While they see a computer board and they just push their buttons to get the unit to start, they don't understand at all the technology that's involved in modern appliances. So if the technician can keep his cool, and even though he may not have seen that specific model prior, he can actually use that to his advantage. Let the customer know, ma'am, I have to do, or sir, I have to do certain steps before I even take the tool out of my bag. I need to run these tests, or I need to see what the machine is actually going to do and what it's going to act and how it's going to respond prior to me just tearing into a machine. When I first started in the early 90s, there was maybe 1 or 2 control boards on an oven. Everything else was, if it was a control board, it was designed to to just be a very simple operation. So we were mechanical, so we could just open it up, look at it. Yes, this is broke. This is how we fix it. This is bent. Let's put one of those on there. So we were really visual and mechanical, or more mechanical back in that start when I got in the industry. So now you have the advantage of the electronics. Use that to your advantage as a new technician. If you're not sure of how to get into something initially, I always stress though, don't just tear into something without knowing what you're doing. Find that information. You've got various avenues to find that through vendors that have support systems and databases. So reach out and find those. I'm not sure, Heather, you may have a list of those at the Dyer Academy.
Mm-hmm.
So find that information. Information is key. That's one of the things that I stress to technicians that I teach all the time, whether it'd be a new guy coming in or a guy that maybe has been in the industry a few years and he's struggling a little bit with a recall rate. Why am I running into this? Is one, information is key. Two, I never stop learning. Even as an instructor now with Samsung and doing some stuff with the Dyer Academy, I'm in the books all the time. I'm a worm when it comes to our industry. So for me, that's how I consider. If I don't know something, I want to know something. There are many avenues that you can go down to find information regarding how an appliance works. So use everything that you can, and information is the biggest key in your bag. It's the biggest tool that you can have. A lot of times customers now, with the advent of, all the technology we have with cell phones, pictures, a lot of times your office or your staff is getting this information before. So one thing that I try to tell a technician when he's having trouble is do his research. Take 10, 15 minutes prior to the next day. If you've got your assignment or you got your calls assigned for the next day, take the time. It's worth it. 5 or 10 minutes in the evening reviewing what you have on your schedule for tomorrow. Sometimes, I say 5 or 10 minutes. It can take you a little longer depending on the rabbit hole you may go down looking for information. But information and knowledge is your best tool in the bag. So have that going in. If you've got the advantage of having a model or serial prior, do some research. Go to the available sites for research in our industry. I know UASA has a technology and information site. So it's something that you definitely, knowledge is key. It's your best tool in the bag. Be prepared. It's one of the things that I've always stressed is for my technicians when I was running a service company was always be prepared. I want you, when you arrive to the home, you're not going to be shocked and just blown out of the water. You're going to have some idea of what you're doing, at least to get started.
Okay. Rob, we have a few more. We have about 10 more minutes, and I want to get to some more questions. We've had a lot of questions on the prices of these lockering kits. And as if you can tell, there's in the chat, there's a few people that are kind of commenting throughout, and so I can tell you if you do your training at the Dyer Academy, we are able to give a discount on these kits. Our discount right now is for the master kit. Lockering kit is about $13.50 for the kit and the tool. And then, I mean, we can only give these to our students, and we can't advertise these online. But also, Besser Frias for Reliable is saying they have them for $2,100 for both the charging kit and the tool kits. If you want his email address, I'm going to put it in the chat. So if you want to reach out to Besser, feel free. Whatever the best deal is what we want to get for everyone.
And what'd you say, Heather? That was $2,100 for that kit, and I'm not sure. I haven't purchased it, so.
That's what Besser says, that they have the charging kit, and
just so people know, I mean, I've built a vast while I was doing seal systems with torches and the old school system recovery, you know, everything we needed for that. My expenses just on the tools to do what I was doing was well over 2,500 to $3,000. So you can also see with the lockering kit, not only is it going to save you time, it will, in the long run, it'll actually save you money.
Okay, great. There was another question I saw here. Let me go back. Do you have any tips for dealing with frozen water line to ice maker? Mark says I've seen this more on GE, but I know it happens in other brands as well.
As frozen as coming into the ice maker or into the door?
Frozen water line to ice maker.
Okay. Usually on those, that's where we recommend the steamer. You know, there's a lot of times what you get, and I'll take a step back, the cause of that, why you're getting a frozen water inlet into your ice maker. And I'm going to be broad here, just because different manufacturers do different ways of getting that water to there with all the filtration systems. So what you want to look at there is a lot of times when you're getting a frozen water line leading into your ice maker, you're getting seepage from the water valve. So the water valve, as it opens and closes, with the engagement of the system, it's not fully seating all the way. So you're getting some seepage of that water valve not closing properly. So as that happens, it may be minute, where it's just gradually filling that water line. So then as it approaches into the fill spout, that little drip will freeze, and it may take a few weeks for it to build up, but that'll block your water ice line. So you always want to inspect that valve for seepage. You may not be able to visually see it, but if it's a habitual problem, that would be the first place I go. Of course, using the steamer to clean it out, and then making sure that valve is sealing off properly, would be something to look for across all brands.
Okay. What advice do you have to our new students starting out if they were to say, can we open our own business after 3 weeks in an appliance repair school?
I applaud the enthusiasm. I do. Again, being in this industry for as long as I have, and now getting, because of the love of this industry, dealing with becoming a training manager with Samsung and doing some work with Heather at Dyer. I love this industry, and it's changed from when I started back in the day. I started with a little pickup with maybe $500 worth of stock, and we completed 75% of our calls because we didn't need a bunch of parts. Everything is very specific now, model specific. Make sure you're using the correct part for that model, as well as having the information. And I keep saying this, and you've probably heard me harp on it. When I do training, that's the one aspect that I can get across to students and get across to new technicians. Information, while sometimes can be pricey because we have to pay to get it, information is the best tool in your bag. It's the biggest investment in your career. If you are just starting off in our industry, it is a very humbling industry. And I've, over the years, hiring and training technicians, just as soon as you think you know what you're doing, you're going to get kicked to the dirt. There's going to be something that gets you. What I would suggest is definitely get a few years experience before starting a business a few months into, an academy. This is a great career. I love dealing with people I train with. It's one of the reasons I switched to the training aspect of it, and the opportunities given me by both Samsung and the opportunity by Heather at the Dyer Academy to impart the knowledge that I have. But one key there is I would always say tap the brakes. You're going to have time to get that started if you're an entrepreneur. But the biggest key is you've heard me say many times during this, I guess, past hour, information. Information is the best tool in your bag. Experience. even to this day, in my training, I'm learning constantly. Things change. And while we may know how something works or something operates, a little change or a little reprogramming of a board is going to catch you off guard. So again, my biggest tool, if I can say anything, is information is key. Get the information you need, know what you're doing, use the correct parts for what you're trying to do. There are no shortcuts in our industry. A shortcut will cost you more money in the long run. And generally it's gonna, if you are a business owner, it's gonna cost you customers. When you try to take a shortcut and not do a job properly, you're also endangering yourself, endangering the customer. One of my mottos is always do it right the first time. You won't have to do it again. Doing it right means doing it once.
Hey Rob, are there any is there a new repair for the Samsung French door iced up fresh fruit evap motor? Did that make sense?
I don't know. I can contact the Samsung leadership there and see if there's any information. If so, I can get it back to you. I don't know. On those type of things, even being a trainer at Samsung, we deal specific models and things that may be happening. So I can't speak specifically on that. So it is something that they would have to research that per model number.
Does anyone
And that's what
know?
I always suggest.
Yeah. Okay. Rob can be reached at Rob at dyerapplianceacademy.com. If anyone wants to reach Rob with some of these questions, if you think of something later, I've put his email, my email in the chat as well. Do you know of any other manufacturers that offer subscription services besides Whirlpool? I don't think I found anything, but I haven't searched in a while.
There are more manufacturers are starting to do that, I believe, and don't quote me on it because I've been in this training side now for quite some time with my position at Samsung. So I've been delving into that and giving that 100%. But I do believe other like UA, SA, the platform we're on is starting to do some training. I want to say, through the grapevine, I've heard GE has offered some training. Whirlpool having Service Matters, just from what I've used over the last few years. Vendors, I would check into your, especially I know Marcone has a vendor training and vendor information site. MSA, I believe it's MSA World, but don't quote me on it. I'm not in that aspect on a day-to-day now. I'm more geared towards Samsung specific and teaching at the Dyer, the SEAL system class monthly.
Sarah says GE and Daycord training webinars are coming in the next couple of weeks through UASA. So that's exciting.
Yep.
And someone else says GE does have their own manufacturing site. So
yeah, and that's what I would suggest, Heather,
mm-hmm.
is if someone is looking for some specific information, I would always reach out to the manufacturer first. They may have a service, Service Matters with Whirlpool has been around for ages. Yes, you got to pay for it. But as I've always told my technicians when I supply information to them, that information is invaluable. I could pay a lot more for that information and it's going to save us a lot more money in the long run. It's going to save us a lot more time. Information is key. Information is priceless.
Okay.
So if you have a method of getting it, I would suggest that go that route.
Someone else mentions msaworld.com has some information. Matt with Sunberg America, they say they're selling the lock ring kit as well. And I'm going to add Matt's email address to the chat. So if everybody's interested in a lock ring kit, Sunberg can also be of service. So here's Matt's email address down there. I have time for one last question, I think. Julio Vasquez, I run into this problem. There's ice buildup on the top of the evaporator, but no ice on the evaporator itself. What would be your next step?
Well, depending on the manufacturer, and the first thing I would look at there is an air leak. If you're getting, there's got to be some type of air leak getting into that refrigerator. getting to that evaporator. If it's only frosting up on a portion, that would be the first thing. I would also have him check his temperatures. When an evaporator does start to frost on the top portion only, or the entrance portion, you may want to look at, it could be worst case scenario, a seal system maybe not functioning properly. So depending on the manufacturer, depending on the brand, it's going to vary. But I would also look at, if you're getting frost on just a portion, making sure your door seals are properly meeting the doors or the cavity, making sure you're not getting any air leaks there, would be one of the first things. And it depends on the type of ice. Is it a hard, thick ice? Could it be a leak, a water leak, or is it frost?
Mm-hmm.
If frost is the issue, then we definitely have an air leak.
Okay. I think we're about at the end of our time here, but Rob, thank you so much. Sorry for the technical issues in the beginning. My name is Heather Dyer. I'm the owner here at the Dyer Appliance Academy. Feel free to reach out to me if you have other questions or you need some resources. We're always here to help. Heather at dyerapplianceacademy.com. You can reach Rob at dyerapplianceacademy.com. And thank you to Sarah, you at UASA, and all of the participants for joining us today.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, Heather. Thank you, Rob. We want to invite everyone to our next virtual happy hour as well, which is on limiting liability and best practices when returning to work on Wednesday, May 27th, as well as our GE training coming up in June. And then we will announce our Decor training shortly. So thanks, everyone. Have a safe weekend.
All right. Thanks, Sarah.
Thanks, Sarah.
Thanks, Rob.
Y'all have a great day.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.